What's up, guys? Welcome back to Ball Talk. I am your host, Brain Wheeler, along with my guest.
Dustin Arnold.
And Cooper Kasky.
And today is a great day to be talking about college football, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, this week, I think it's week 12. We're almost getting towards the end of the college football season. So, this week, what I wanted to do is I wanted to go through the new format of the college football playoff this year. Of course, 10 years ago, a new format they made instead of the BCS championship where they chose 2 teams. They went with 4 teams 10 years ago. And now 10 years later, we have a 12-team football playoff.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about that?
I like the idea. It kind of gives you that Cinderella story kind of thing where if you let's say Memphis, for example, like barely nicks the playoffs, like barely makes it in. And it could be a Cinderella story from there, like when we beat Cincinnati and then we went to go play Penn State, but we lost.
Yeah.
I would have just kept
I remember that game. That was a really good game.
That was a good season.
I think
Yeah.
it just makes it more fun and adds depth.
It gives
You know?
it gives more opportunity to teams who, let's say, don't win their conference. Like if you're in the SEC, you play in a really, really tough conference, but you're good. Let's say you're good enough to be in the discussion. It lets you really play the whole thing out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like you said, like not smaller schools, but the group of 5 schools. Each of them get a representative each year. So, yeah, this year it's looking like it's going to be Boise State. Unfortunately, it's not going to be Memphis. But
Yeah.
Hey, you
you
know
know.
what? I'm happy to give that one up. I love Boise State.
yeah, Boise
Nah,
Boise
go
State's a great team.
Memphis.
But what I wanted to do is I wanted to review basically what my top 12, my predictions are for the college football playoff, the new 12-team format, and then maybe compare it to what it is right now. So basically, what I have is number 12, and On3 Football has this too. I have Boise State as my G5 team representative.
Yeah.
The only team that's competing for the G5 representative so far, other than Boise State, is Army, which that is going to be interesting to see because they are undefeated.
That's valid. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing with Army is that Army has not played any real comp yet.
That is
per se.
true. Are they
Boise
still?
State, now you could say the same thing about Boise State, but they have played Oregon, and they lost by, I think it was like 3 points or something.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And Oregon is the number 1 team in the country right now, at least in my opinion. But
Navy, are they still undefeated? Or Army, I mean.
Army's undefeated. Navy, on the other hand, has 2 losses
Yeah.
now, so they're pretty much out. They might have had a chance even though they lost to Notre Dame, but yeah, I think they had another loss from there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's me and On3 are on the same page right there for number 12. And number 11, this pains me to say it, I have Ole Miss in the playoff. Right now they have the edge over Georgia because they beat Georgia. Now the only way that I see that changing is if Georgia beats Tennessee this weekend, and then let's say if Ole Miss, they have Florida, Mississippi State. Yeah, they're not going to slip up. They're not going to lose those games. But let's say they look a little bit more sloppy than usual. They might give the edge to Georgia just for beating Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Georgia should be ranked as high as they are.
I think Georgia's very overrated. I think Carson Beck is not that good.
Well, think about it. Georgia whooped Texas, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that they
And
have
then Texas is what, number 3?
yeah, that's the only game they've lost this year. That's an interesting. See,
I
point-
think Texas should be lower than that.
Yeah,
Personally.
the interesting point you can make between Georgia and Ole Miss is while Georgia did lose to Ole Miss, they lost to Alabama as well, who are both in the college football
Texas
discussion.
has 0 ranked wins.
That's another
That's-
thing.
Yeah.
And other school, Penn State has 0 ranked wins. BYU 0 ranked wins. It's
Yeah,
just all
it's crazy.
confusing.
All those Big Ten teams are going to get tested pretty soon
Mhm.
when they all start to face up against each other. But one interesting argument you can make towards Georgia and Ole Miss, you can say the head-to-head matters. You know, Ole Miss beat Georgia, as we all know. They absolutely wiped the floor with them. But Ole Miss's losses, you can say, are worse. They lost to an LSU team who is not very good right now.
Yeah.
And then they lost to Kentucky, which it looks like they lost to Kentucky at home, too. It's not like they lost on the road.
For a second, Kentucky was on the hot seat. Like they were cooking,
Yeah.
They were doing good, and then I think they're still doing good. I haven't paid much attention to them.
I have Kentucky right now. The Ole Miss game is looking like it's going to be their only SEC win this year. Kentucky's offense is absolutely putrid. I am really surprised. Yes, like that's the word to describe Kentucky right now.
Pulled that
that's
one
fair.
out of the arsenal.
But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at that, if you're like in the playoff committee or whatever they have, that's an interesting thing to talk about because Ole Miss has 2 worse losses, even though they have the head-to-head to Georgia, so that's where you make the decision. But right now, being the head-to-head, since we don't know, we're not at the end of the season yet, I have Ole Miss at 11, and On 3 also has the same thing as me right there.
Yeah.
That's valid.
Yeah,
I
agree with that.
So number 10, I have Indiana out of the Big Ten. They are a big story this year. They have a new head coach. I forgot what his name was, but they have a transfer
Who
quarterback.
did they beat? They beat someone big, right?
I think they did too, but
I can't remember.
I know they're undefeated. They've pretty much beat every team by a large margin. Besides Michigan, they beat them by 5. But other than that, they haven't really lost to anybody.
Yeah.
So no, and what On 3 says is for their number 10, they have Alabama. I mean, I agree there. It's just with some of these with 6 through 9, 6 through 10, it's all based on your opinion of who's the better team. It's not a discussion of when they're in the playoff or not. Well, maybe 10 and 11. 10 and 11, it's going to be iffy to see if they're going to stay in the playoff or not. But by the end of the year at least. But yeah, that's just going to be interesting to see. At number 9, this is where I have Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one spot ahead of what On 3 had. On 3 has Notre Dame at number 9. My reasoning for putting Alabama at number 9 is while they have lost to Vanderbilt, they had those early losses against Tennessee and Vanderbilt. That's going to be looked at too when you're talking about Ole Miss and Alabama.
Yeah.
That let's say if the SEC, there's a legit chance that the SEC has a 10-2 tiebreak, 8-way tiebreaker at the end of the year. There's a chance of that happening because Texas A&M plays Texas at the end of the year at home. They can win that game.
Yeah.
They can all be 10-2. So this is really going to be an interesting playoff this year as far as the SEC as far as how many spots are they willing to give them, because the SEC is known as the best conference in football.
Yeah.
And these teams are just kind of beating up on each other, it's going to be interesting to see. But I have Alabama at number 9.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe has been playing really good as of late. Towards middle of the beginning of this season, he didn't do too well, but now he's finally starting to do well under Kalen DeBoer's offense. And number 8, this is where I have Tennessee. The only thing that's not keeping them from being higher is the one slip up against Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
That was insane, though.
let's say if Tennessee loses this week to Georgia, this is another 10-2 situation. They have the loss to Arkansas. That's another one that could be compared to Ole Miss. Which loss is worse, Arkansas or Kentucky? Me personally, I would say the Kentucky loss for Ole Miss is worse because they played them at home.
Yeah.
And Arkansas isn't great, but they're better than Kentucky. That's for sure.
Well, I like that you have Tennessee there because it really shows, kind of the difference between
the difference.
them and Alabama, because that game was so close.
Yeah. And Tennessee ended up on top because Alabama struggled offensively.
Exactly.
In that game. Number 7, this is where I have Notre Dame. Notre Dame's not in a conference, obviously, but they've beaten everyone besides one team. They got upset by Northern Illinois.
Is Notre Dame ACC?
No, they don't have a conference. They're independent.
Yeah.
Really?
And
my gosh, I did not know that.
Every other sport, they're in the ACC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In football,
In lacrosse, I think they're ACC.
In football, they're independent.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, their only loss is against Northern Illinois, which is a pretty bad loss at home.
Have they played any ranked games?
Yeah, they have, and they've beaten ranked teams. So
that's good.
So yeah, I'm trying to think who did they have. Oh yeah, On 3 had Indiana at 7. I can also see that. At number 6, I have Penn State in the Big Ten. I think they only have one loss. They've played well over the majority of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I
Oh,
like
12
Penn State there.
Yeah, and On Three also has Penn State at number 6
Okay.
as well.
Yeah.
So we moved to number 5. I have Ohio State out of the Big Ten. Ohio State has had a really good year. It's really going to boil down to who wins the conference championship between Ohio State and Oregon.
Yeah.
And I think Oregon ultimately wins that, which we're going to talk about them later, or we're going to talk about them here in a few minutes. But yeah, I have Ohio State at number 5, number 5, and On Three also says number 5.
Okay.
Now, see, here's a big one. As we start getting into the top 4, we start reaching the teams that won their conference championships.
Mm-hmm.
Every team gets a bid. SEC, or every Power 4 team gets a bid. SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC.
Mm-hmm.
So number 4, this On Three has BYU.
Ooh.
I think they slip up, and I'm gonna go. That sounds crazy. I have Colorado. I have Colorado as my Big 12
okay.
Hey, that's
representative.
That's respectable.
I like Colorado. BYU, absolutely not.
Yeah, BYU almost lost to Utah the other night. And
I don't like
yeah.
anything about BYU. I think they're frauds. They suck.
I think their quarterback is good. It's just the whole team they played in the Big 12 is kind of sketchy. Same with the ACC.
Yeah.
They're all kind of ACC and Big 12 are all really sketchy as far as teams go. But yeah, I have them at number 4. Number 3, we go to the ACC. ACC is another really bad conference. I have Miami as my ACC representative because there's really nobody else in that conference. I take that back. There's SMU, but I don't think SMU ends up beating Miami in the conference championship.
Definitely not.
Or at least that's what I think. But then we start closing in. Number 2, I have Texas out of the SEC. I think they win the conference championship.
Yeah.
Pretty self-explanatory right
I get
there. On Three also agrees with that. And then number one team in the country is Oregon.
I agree with that.
Dylan Gabriel, really good quarterback.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel for Heisman. I love Dylan Gabriel.
It's legit at this point.
Ashton GT ain't nothing.
That is real. I mean,
Group 5.
He's
I mean,
definitely he's in it. He's in it for sure.
yeah.
It's legit at that point, or at this point. But yeah, On Three also agrees with that. I think Oregon is a favorite to win it all.
Yeah.
I kind of see them as like a better version of Washington from last year because they have Dylan Gabriel, they have really good receivers, they have a good running back, they have a good defense as well.
Yeah,
but
it's a good team all around.
But yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see how this shapes up here in the upcoming weeks. Yeah. But enjoyed it today. We all hope that you have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.
Later.